Hi, thanks for joining us today for BRMC's Healthy Connections. Stephen, we were going to talk about, because this is National Home Safety
Month.
Safety Month, okay, all right. And Stephen is here with us representing Baxter Regional's Home Health Agency. And you brought some interesting stuff in today that I was not aware of. It says 1 out of 3 adults aged 65 and older falls each year.
Yeah. I got all this information from the CDC.
Center for Disease Control.
Center for Disease Control. Yeah. But yeah, and they also were saying that the falls are the leading cause of death in people 65 or older, which really opens your eyes.
You bet. They're saying because maybe you fall and break something and you don't heal as fast.
Exactly. Older people have a harder time healing, and once they
this is getting real close. So I'm paying real
65
close.
65 and older. So there's like 35 years there you get. But it says the most common cause of non-fatal injuries and hospital admissions are falls.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The biggest thing we need to take out of this is many of these are preventable. And that's kind of where the BRMC Home Health steps in.
Okay.
We can give guidance to patients and, more importantly, family. Most of what I see when I go out and see our patients is concerned family members.
Yeah.
I notice a lot of our patients, especially men, are very set in their ways. They like their house the way it is. They don't want to change anything. You haven't said anything
that any woman doesn't already know. But go ahead.
But that's what I found out. And what it normally is the family calling saying, "Hey, I'm really worried about Dad. Can you guys come out and give us some hints and stuff like that?"
Right.
And our patients, really benefit from that. It's not really a skilled medical care kind of deal. We're not treating wounds or anything. But when our nurses go out and see our patients, they look around the house and say, "Hey, why don't we pick up this rug here?" Or
all these scatter rugs.
Yeah, scatter rugs. Let's move this cord over here and stuff like that. But definitely the family is what I've noticed, and it's very important.
Sure.
And I would, before working for a home health department, I would have probably not really realized that.
Right.
So,
kind of an eye opener for you that, how many times do we see? I know that, for instance, one of the things that's always amazed me in homes in general is who usually puts in the kitchen. The wife may decide what color she wants, but who builds it? It's usually men, and they're taller usually, and the cabinets are taller. So I know I've always kept a kitchen stool in every home I've ever owned, because there's shelves, I get to once a year. It's the take down the punch bowl at holiday time or something.
One time a year, then put it back up and you're done with it. So another interesting fact. I mean, I was in there reading this for like an hour. Like, wow, I can't believe that.
We love Stephen's enthusiasm. All right, tell us more.
Over 2 million people went to the ER in 2009, just simply for falls. Unnecessary. They call them unintentional falls. Means preventable, basically.
Yep.
Over 2 million people.
That's incredible.
Yeah. 580-something thousand of those ended up in a hospital admission, which probably means they broke a hip or broke a leg or something like that. That caused them to not only go to the ER, but beyond that, have a stay in the hospital, which nobody wants.
No.
And
I know I've heard about over the years too with people that they'll have a fall that's preventable, as you say. They're reaching, they're stretching, they're climbing. I have a very, very close experience with my own husband who was on a ladder he should not have been on, fell off, cracked ribs. It's taken him 6 months to even get 3/4 of the way back to where he was prior to the fall. So, as we get older, your bones don't mend as quickly, you don't recover as quickly, and of course the fear is always, if it's put you in the hospital, if it's that bad, then you're opening yourself up for other potential things, like lying there with pneumonia, your lungs,
bed wounds, and things like
wounds,
that.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to do here is kind of open people's eyes, look around your house. Is there something you can do to prevent something like this happening? You know, it really is aggravating to the patient and the family when you can look back after the fact and say, man, I wish I would have done this so I wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
So, I mean, that's part of what they try to advertise during the Home Safety Month is open your eyes, look around your house. What can you do?
Yeah, start on the outside probably and use maybe a ramp versus steps even.
Yeah.
In some cases, even if you're up walking around healthy, it's...
yeah, like you say, the biggest things are tripping hazards from what I've found. You know, there's other things such as having a plan for disasters and things like that. But I think the biggest, you know, influence on Home Safety Month is prevention of falls.
Sure.
And there's plenty of stuff to look at in that. So, I mean...
go room by room, your bathrooms, put the handrails up to... Just that, you know, one slip in the tub is not worth maybe being uncomfortable, like, oh, I don't need a handrail to get up and down, I'm fine. So...
other things can be as simple as moving furniture around. Making space where you're not walking around things in and out, going through, you know, an obstacle course to get to the kitchen or the bathroom.
This is coming back to these stubborn men, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, as a matter of fact. And that's what I've noticed. I went to a man's house just a few weeks ago, and I was telling him I had nothing to do with you know, a safety assessment. But while I was there, I noticed he had his computer set up and then his cords running across there, and I said, sir, you know, that looks kind of dangerous. You know, can we fix this for you? And he's like, no, it's fine, it's been there for 30 years, you know, and stuff like that. His wife came in there, why don't we go ahead and fix it, hon, while he's here? And I said, okay, so we just, you know, we tucked him away to where it was safer, and, you know, maybe he would have never fell over them, but it was definitely a hazard.
Sure.
And, you know, that's the kind of thing we need to look for in the homes to prevent these unnecessary falls.
And you just mentioned one of the most prideful things that I feel working for BRMC. You weren't even there to fix that stuff, but you saw it and you took care of it because your heart's in the right place, Stephen.
Well,
so,
I mean, I've seen the other side of the deal too, the other side of the fence where these things weren't taken care of. And, you know, it affects the patient, but like I say, more than that, it affects the wife. I was visiting another patient the other day in a home, and her husband had fell, and she was almost in tears saying that, you know, he's probably not going to come home this time because it looks like, you know, he fell and broke his hip in his home. Looks like he's going to have to go to a nursing home, and she was left there by herself. And that's horrible.
It is.
It was horrible. I sat there and talked to her for a long time, and I just said, well, you know.
We just never think it's going to happen to us. We always
right.
think that it's going to be maybe the other person. And, you know, there's a whole thing with aging that you go through that you hate to admit to yourself, let alone anyone else, that you can't do. You think you still can do a lot of these things, but you can't do some of the things that always just came naturally.
Yeah.
So,
you know, my grandfather, he's 83 years old, and he is suffering from dementia, and he is one of the most stubborn people I've ever met. And he says he's not aging. You know, he just says he still feels like he's, you know, 40 years old, and that's the way it is. And you got to have patience with him when you deal with him. You know, you got to let him make the decisions, kind of play mind games a little bit. You know, but it's definitely, you know, a challenge sometimes. But it's something you have to do.
And it's hard, like you'd mentioned, it's hard for the adult children to step in because in their parents' eyes they will always be the child. And that role reversal, how can we do that? So, well, let's discuss that more. We need to take a short break. We'll be back and we'll continue our discussion on how to keep your home safe. We don't want you to have those falls and end up in the hospital and maybe not going back home. We'll be right back.
All right.